Hello everyone, my name is Justin Coleman, Senior Business Development Officer here at Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, and I want to welcome you all to our RX Office Basics webinar. This is the webinar where we go through the entire RX Office system from beginning to end, and we take you through the case management system and walk you through exactly how it works. Now today we're going to be using our RX Office Basics manual, which you can find on Counselor's Corner, and we'll also be using the live RX Office system. Okay, you can see I have the Basics manual up here on the screen, and there's 6 different sections that we're going to go through with you today. Section 1, we're going to introduce the system to you and go through initial client intake. Section 2, we're going to show you how to navigate back into an existing case and search for existing cases overview. Section 3, we're going to show you how to assign a guarantor for billing and create the final case type. Section 4, we're going to show you how to build the final report or reports. Section 5, we're going to show you how to close a case and how to submit the HUD 9902 through the RX Office system. And then in Section 6, we're going to show you how group education or how to set up workshops within the system. So we're going to start here with Section 1, where we're going to introduce the RX Office system to you and go through initial client intake. So RX Office is the case management system that we use here at PHFA, and it must be used for all clients that you're billing and want to be paid for here at PHFA. You can also use the system for other funders or guarantors that you work with. The system is very flexible. So, RX Office CMS, as I explained, is a web-based portal that unifies the casework for counselors and counseling agencies. Counselors can complete a wide variety of cases entirely within the system. Counseling agencies can then generate reports from within the system in a few simple steps, thereby saving the agency time and money. PHFA can then receive those reports in a pre-designed format. When working a case in the system, we do recommend that you follow a certain order. Okay, and we have the order or the 8-step process here below. Step number 1 will be creating a case. Step number 2 will be creating what we call the prospect lead case. Step number 3 will be entering in all of your relevant information. Step 4, when ready to assign a guarantor, create the final case and import the prospect lead case. Step 5 will be assigning the guarantor. Step 6, check to make sure all required information is provided. Step 7, you're going to generate the required report. And then in Step 8, you're going to close the case. And we will walk through this 8-step process with you as we go through the webinar today. So the first thing we're going to look at here is client intake and data entry. So we're going to show you how to add a new client to the system, and we're going to show you how to set up the prospect lead case that you just heard me mention. Okay? And the instructions for this begin here on page number 6 in our manual. Now to do this, we're going to go to our live system. So the first thing that you need is going to be the URL to get into our live system. Okay? So you see the URL here is going to be premium.rxoffice.us. So again, the URL to get into the system is going to be premium.rxoffice.us. Now once you type that in, it's going to bring you to the screen where you'll log in. Now we do not issue credentials here at PHFA. These credentials are issued by the system administrator at your agency. Okay? So you must see the system administrator at your agency. They will provide you with your company code, your login ID, and help get you set up within the system. I'm going to go in and put in my credentials. Okay, after you put in all of your credentials, you're going to click on Login. And it's going to take you directly into the RX Office system. Okay, Now I kind of had this set up, so I do want to back up here and show you when you put the URL in, this is the actual home screen that will appear. Okay, so to get to the screen that I was just on, you'll need to click on Login, which is over here in the right-hand corner, followed by Counselor. Once you do that, this is where you'll go ahead and enter your credentials. So I'll enter mine again, and it'll take me directly into the RX Office system. So once in the system, you'll see the setup of RX Office. You have your announcements section down here in the lower right-hand corner. You have your quick search area up in the upper right. Here is your toolbar, which will perform most of your tasks that we're going to review with you today. And then your 25 most recent cases here will appear directly in the center of your screen. So what we're going to look at today, we're going to show you how to add a new client to the system, and we're going to show you how to set up the prospect lead case. So the way that we're going to go about doing this is we're going to click on the New Case tab, and you can add a client really to a case or to the system in one of two ways. So if this is a brand new client that is not in your system at all, you're going to click where it says Add Client. But if you're adding a client to a case and they're already in the system, then you can click on the client list here, search for them in the client list, and add them to your case that way. Today we're going to add a brand new client to the system, so we're going to click Add Client. Okay, and this is where you would go in and add your client to the system. Now, every field that has a red asterisk will be a required or a mandatory field. The fields that don't will be optional fields. So today we're going to go in and we're going to add Mr. October to our system today. So if this was your client that you're working with, you would go in and enter their first and last name. You would enter their social security number, their date of birth, their gender, okay, their marital status, household, their relationship, preferred language, how did they hear about your agency, you go in and enter their address, and then once you enter the zip code, the city, state, and county will automatically populate for you. Okay, you'll enter in their phone number, their phone type, and the best time to contact. You'll then go down and enter their preferred contact type. Are they a Colonialist resident? Yes or no. Number of family members in the household. Number of dependents. And then you'll go down here and you'll enter their race. And you'll go down here and enter their ethnicity. Okay, so after you have all that information in, you'll click Save. And just like that, you'll see that your client was saved to the system. Now we can move on and set up the prospect lead case that you heard me mention. Okay, so to set up the prospect lead case, right here where it says case type, we're going to select prospect lead. We have some optional fields that we can go ahead and add to our prospect lead case, and then we can proceed. Now, the only field that you may want to add would be your internal reference number. So if you have a number that's separate from a automated computer-generated number that you'd like to assign to your particular case, this is where you would go in and add that number. Okay, if you don't, you could just leave this blank. Now, some of you may be wondering, what is a prospect lead case? Okay, so let me go back to the manual here and explain. So again, pages 6, 7 walk you through how to add the client, which we just did. And then creating the prospect lead case begins here on page 8. Now, the prospect lead case is really the seed case that you're going to begin to work with. So, client may come into your office, you may not know exactly who you're going to bill that client to right away, or what type of service that client is going to need. Okay? The prospect lead case allows you to get the client into the system, do some intake with them, and there's 5 basic things that you can do here for the client in the prospect lead case status. We list those things here on the bottom of page 9. So you can enter in loan information, you can help them complete a budget, you can create the action plan, upload documents, and you can enter in case notes. Okay? So these are the 5 things, and the only 5 things that you can do for the client in the prospect lead case status. So we're going to walk through these 5 things next. So if we go back to our case, I told you from the case type you're going to select prospect lead. We have our client here entered, and you can see the first thing is here at the bottom of the screen. We have the option to click here to add loan information. So we're going to click this, and if you have loan information for your client, this is where you will go in and enter it. This is the first thing that you can do in the prospect lead case for the client. If you do not have loan information to add at this time, you're just going to scroll down. You're going to click Save. And once you do that, you can see your prospect lead case is now set up for you in the RX Office system. You now have a case ID number that is tied to this particular case. Okay, you can see it's a prospect lead case, and our client's information appears. Now, the second thing that you can do in the prospect lead case for the client is you can build their budget, and that's going to be done via the financial tab. Okay, so we're going to click on the financial tab here, and when you do that, what you'll find is there is 5 main sections of your budget. So you have your income, you have your expenses, you have your assets, you have your liabilities, and you have your credit score. So basically what you're going to do here is you're going to start with the income, and here's where you're going to enter all of the income that you have for that client. You can see we have the income types over here on the left. You can enter a primary, secondary, and combined budget. You have the option of entering gross or net, frequency. From, to dates, you can enter comments. So you can see it's a very detailed budget that we have in place here for your clients. So I'm just going to go ahead and enter in some information for Mr. October in the income section. Once you're done the income section, you're going to go down to expenses, and any expenses that the client owns or has, this is where you would enter the expenses. Okay? So again, you can get very detailed. Account open date, payment start dates. You can enter in your monthly minimums, your max utilization. Okay, so very detailed expense section that you can complete here for your client. After you finish your expenses, you'll go to your assets. So any assets that the client owns, this is where you would enter those in. And then when you complete your assets, you'll go to your liabilities. So any liabilities that the client has, student loans, personal loans, any liabilities that they have. This is where you would go in and entering in all your liabilities. Okay, and then finally you have your credit score section. So if you have the client's credit score, this is where you would enter it. You do want to remember for most of the initiatives at PHFA, we do require a tri-merge. Okay, if you don't have the credit score, you can leave this blank and go back and enter that in at a later time. Once you have the full information completed for your budget, you'll click Save. And you'll see a note that says Success, financial information saved successfully. Once you see that, you'll know that your budget has been saved to the system for your client. Now, once you're complete with the budget, you do have the ability to print your budget. So you're going to print your budget by going to the Documents tab and clicking on Document Uploads. Once you'll do that, you'll be able to scroll down here. You'll click where it says Pre-filled Forms, and you'll find the monthly household budget. You'll click the box next to it, click Generate, and then the budget that you just completed will be generated in an Excel document for you. So I'll open the file and show you. So here it is. Okay? So now you have a nice budget with the client's information. All of the fields that you entered would be here. Okay? It's automatically going to calculate your debt to income ratios, both the front end and the back end, your surplus and deficit, their signature lines. So you can see it's a very detailed budget here. You can scale this then and print it to one page, provide it to the client, and now they have a very detailed budget that you've helped them complete. Now there's one more thing that I want to show you here in regards to your budget, and that is if you go to the Case Info tab, you do have the ability to pull your credit report directly from the RX Office system. Now, in order to use the RX Office system, you're going to click on the Case Info tab as I mentioned. You're going to scroll down here to the right, and you'll see a credit report section. Now, in order to use this, your agency must be signed up with Credco. Okay, PHFA was able to negotiate some group rates through Credco, and your agency must be signed up with Credco. If you are, you can click here where it says Order Credit Report, and you'll be able to order a credit report for your client. You can order a single, you can order a joint, you can pick the credit bureau or order the tri-merge. So you have all those options. Once the credit report is ordered, it will show up here in this section. And if you want to use the credit report to pre-populate the budget, you do have the ability to do so. Okay, once the credit report is here and ordered, you'll click where it says click here to copy credit report values to Financial tab. You would then go back into your Financial tab, and right here where it says apply credit report values, you would click that, and all of your credit report values then will be applied to your budget. Now, if you are using Credco and this feature, you must do this first before going in then and completing the rest of your budget. If you do it second, it's going to wipe out everything that you put in. So if you're using the credit report to pre-populate your budget, do that first, and then go in and complete the rest of your budget, print it out, and provide it to your client. So that is the budget that's available to you here in the RX Office system via the Financial tab. Now everything I just reviewed with you, so you can see going back to the loan information is on page 10, and then building the budget, you have the step-by-step instructions here on page 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay, now the third thing that you can do for the client and the prospect lead case status is you can help them create an action plan. Now we do have some guidelines regarding our action plans. So it's the PHFA Universal Action Plan that we have in the RX Office system. Now this must be used for all PHFA funding sources. It must be used for all types of counseling, and it only needs to be completed for the initial appointment and then updated if applicable for your subsequent appointments. The first section of the action plan will be the goals needs section. So you'll complete the goals needs section of the action plan as applicable for your first appointment. You'll use the updated goals needs section for subsequent appointments. Then you have the assessment, recommendations, topics of financial education, and referral fields that must all be completed. You want to create and record action steps that will assist the client to achieve their goals. Project the time frame and list any progress of any follow-ups or subsequent appointments. Do not forget the counselor step. That's what can you do to assist the client in achieving their goals. Okay, if you're unsure what goes in a particular section of the action plan, we do have these little blue and white circles that you can hover over, and we provide you examples of what goes in that particular section. Documents requested, so here you can list any documents that have been requested. At the bottom of the form, there is a spot for the date of the next appointment. After the action plan is completed, you can then save and print the action plan. Once the action plan is saved, it is converted to a PDF, and there are signature lines where the client and counselor can both sign. Once you click Save in the action plan document, all action plan info will be saved in the system. A copy of the saved action plan will appear at the bottom of the screen, and a copy of the most recent action plan saved will be stored in your Documents area. Any action plan that is uploaded to the Documents area, signed or unsigned, will be saved in that area in the History section. So the action plan, everything that I just reviewed with you, will be completed via the Universal Action Plan. And here's the actual tab in the action plan in the RX Office system. Okay, that is the third thing that you can do for the client in the prospect lead case status. The fourth thing that you can do for the client in the prospect lead case status is you can upload documents. Now you're going to upload documents via the Documents tab, so you click on Documents, you click on Document Upload. So this is where if the client has come to your office with documents that you want to upload and store to the system, this is where you would do it. So you can see there's a number of different document types here that we have. There are a few other categories as well. So you would basically find the document type. So for example, if the client came in with bank statements, you're going to click on this Action button next to the bank statements. You're going to click on Upload. Okay, you're going to go in and you're going to find the bank statements here in your system. You're going to click Upload. You can see there's comments that you could put here. You're going to click Upload. And just like that, the bank statements would have been uploaded to the RX Office system for your client. Now, if the client comes in next week or a month from now with bank statements and you want to upload those as well, you will need to remove these bank statements from the system, but it's not going to totally remove them. Basically, what it's going to do is it's going to archive them. So you can see I clicked on Action Item, I clicked on Remove. What happens is the original bank statements get archived and saved in your history, and now you have the ability to upload new bank statements for the client. So you could upload, one bank statement or 50, it really doesn't matter. Any old documents will be stored in the history, and you're always able to upload new or additional documents. So you would do that for all of the document types here that you would want to upload for the client. Now the system does have a splitter function. The splitter function is up here in the upper right. So let's say the client came to you with bank statements, tax returns, a bunch of different documents that you would want to upload to the system. Well, you would use the splitter function to upload all the documents at one time, and then once the big file is uploaded, you will use the splitter function to split that big upload and put the individual document types where they belong. So for example, if pages 1 to 5 were bank statements, you could indicate that, and they will go to the bank statement section. If pages 2 to 15 were tax returns, you could indicate that, and they would go to the tax return section. We do have instructions on how to use this splitter function as well as a video on our PHFA YouTube page. So if you want more information on that, I advise you to either refer to the manual or you can go to the video on our YouTube page for a tutorial on how to use this splitter function. But that is the fourth thing that you can do for the client in the prospect lead case status. You can upload documents to the system for them. Again, that's going to be covered in our manual here on pages 19, 20, 21, and 22. Now, the last thing that you can do for the client in the prospect lead case status is you can create a note. So back to our system, to create a note, you're going to click on the Notes tab. You're going to scroll down here to where it says New Note. And this is where you will go in and create the note for your client. So there are different log types that you can select. You can get up to 8,000 characters here in your notes section. And you are able to copy and paste from an email. Okay? Once you have the note in, you'll click Save. And you'll see that the note was successfully saved to the system for your client. Same thing, you can have one note or you can have 100. There's really no limit to the amount of notes that you can have here in the system for your client. So that is section 1. And creating a note here is on pages 23 and 24 that I just reviewed with you. So section 1, we showed you how to set up the new client in the system. We set up Mr. October in our example, and we showed you how to set up the prospect lead case. We also walked through the 5 different things that you can do in the prospect lead case for your client. Those 5 things were, number 1, entering in loan information. Number 2, creating your budget. Number 3, completing your universal action plan. Number 4, uploading documents. And number 5, entering in notes into the system for your client. So that is section 1 in our manual. Section 2, navigating back into an existing case and searching for existing cases. So in section 2 here, we're going to show you how you would search for cases that are in the RX Office system. So I'm going to go back to the live system, and really there's 2 basic ways that you could search for a case here in the system. There's a quick search way, which is done in here in the upper right hand corner. The quick search way, you can search by case number, certificate number, first name, internal reference number, last name, loan number, or phone number. So you would pick your criteria, enter it in, select go, and you would be able to search. Okay, so that is the first way to search. The more extensive way to search for a case is here on the toolbar. If you click for case search, click on case search. Here you can see you have a lot more criteria. So here you can search by case type, property address, last 4 of the social, loan information. So this is the second way to search for a case, and you're just provided with more extensive search criteria here on the screen. You would then click search, and you could search for a case that way as well. So those are the 2 ways that you could search for a case here in the RX Office system. And we review that again on pages 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29 in our manual. Okay, now we're going to take a break. We've gone through sections 1 and 2. We're going to take a break before we get into section 3. So why don't we take a 10-minute break? We'll get into section 3, which is assigning a guarantor for billing and creating the final case type. We'll see you back here shortly. All right, we're going to pick up here. Section 3, assigning a guarantor for billing and creating the final case type. Now that we've done some work with our client, Mr. October, he's come in, we've captured a few documents from him, his budget's in there, his action plan's in there. Now we probably have a good idea of what type of counseling we're going to be doing with him and where we want to bill him to, whether that be CHCI, HUD, DHCD. So now what we need to do is we need to take the prospect lead case and we need to import it to a case that we can actually bill to PHFA. And that's what I'm going to walk through with you next here in Section 3. Now, before you can think about importing the case, it's very important that you must identify 3 things. Okay? You must identify the guarantor, the case type, and the case status of the case that you're going to be importing the prospect lead case to. I'll repeat that. You must identify the guarantor, the case type, and the case status of the new case that you're going to be importing the prospect lead case to. Okay? Now we've created some charts in the back of the manual to help you with this. So if you're going to be importing a prospect lead case to a CHCI case, you're going to use Appendix B here on page 99. Okay? This is the CHCI chart. Here we have all the different case types, case statuses, and guarantors for all cases under CHCI. So for example, if Mr. October was a pre-purchase client and we were going to be doing some pre-purchase one-on-one counseling with him, then you can see here pre-purchase counseling. The guarantor would be Comprehensive Housing Counseling Initiative. The case status would be pre-purchase counseling, and the case type would be PHFA pre-purchase one-on-one counseling. If Mr. October was a default client and we were going to be billing him under default and delinquency, CHCI, then you can see here default and delinquency counseling. The guarantor would be Anti-Predatory Lending Initiative. The case status would be default and delinquency counseling, and the case type would be PHFA default and delinquency. So everything that you can bill for under CHCI would be listed on this chart. If you're billing the client to HUD, you're going to use the HUD chart on Appendix C, page 100. Okay, the guarantor selection is always going to be NOFA comp and the year that we're currently in. So right now it's 2021, but if that changes, of course, PHFA would let you know. So the guarantor selection is always going to be the NOFA comp and the grant year that we're in under HUD. And then you have all of your case types and all of your case statuses under HUD. So for example, if you're billing Mr. October to, if he's a pre-purchase client and you're billing him to HUD, your guarantor selection would be the NOFA comp, the particular year you're in. Case type would be PHFA pre-purchase one-on-one counseling. And then you can see you have several case statuses to select from based on the type of work you're doing with that client. And then for those of you who are down in Philadelphia that bill to DHCD, we do have Appendix D, which is your chart for DHCD. So your guarantor selection is always going to be DHCD. And then we have all the case types and case statuses listed for the work that you may be billing over to DHCD. So this is the third appendix that's here in the back of the manual for you. So now I'm going to go to the live system and I'm going to walk you through exactly how this would work. So to import the prospect lead case to a live billable case, the first thing that you would need to do would be to click on Import Prospect Case in the upper left-hand corner. Now you're going to search for the case that you want to import. So we're going to search for Mr. October. Now you can see there's several clients that pop up under that last name. Okay? So what you would need to do is remember their phone number, and the most recent case is going to be at the top. Okay, so if we think it's this particular client, we're going to click on that case ID, And here on the next screen is really where we can indeed verify if this is the client we want to import or not. We have the address, date of birth, social, so you can see a lot more information pops up on the screen for the client. If this is not the client, we would need to go back and select another client with that last name to find the client that we want to import. Once we confirm that this is indeed the client that we want to import, you're going to click where it says Import Prospect Case in the upper right-hand corner. And then here's where it brings you to step 1, where you're going to select your case type, your guarantor, and your case status. So going back to our chart, for purposes of this example, we're going to do a CHCI case, and we're going to do pre-purchase under CHCI. So we're doing a pre-purchase case under CHCI, pre-purchase counseling. Here it is. Our case type would be PHFA, pre-purchase 101 counseling. So here's where we're going to select PHFA, pre-purchase 101 counseling, and we click import. Now step number 1 is complete. Step number 2, we must update our guarantor. So if we scroll down here right in the middle of the screen, in our counseling selection, we want to select edit, and this is where we can update our guarantor. So back to our chart, our guarantor should be Comprehensive Housing Counseling Initiative. So we're going to find Comprehensive Housing Counseling Initiative. Let's go down here and click Save. And step number 2 is complete. Now step number 3 is we must update our case status. So to update our case status, we're going to scroll down here, the right hand side of the screen where it says Update Case Status. Go back to our chart. Our case status under pre-purchase counseling is pre-purchase counseling. So we're going to select pre-purchase counseling, click Save, and now we have a CHCI case set up for Mr. October. Okay? Now we're not done. There's 2 more things we would need to do in this case before we could make it billable to PHFA. We must enter our appointment that we held with the client, and we must enter in our outcomes. To enter in the actual appointment, you're going to click on the user time log. And here's where you would go in and enter the actual appointment that you held with the client. So we need the amount of time that you spent. So it was a 2-hour appointment. Was it face-to-face, over the phone? How was the appointment conducted? And is the appointment billable or not? Yes or no? Once you have those fields in, you're going to click Save. And you'll see you now have the appointment saved in the system for your client. The next thing we need to do is we need to add our outcomes. So to add our outcomes, we're going to click on the Case Info tab. We're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the right-hand screen where it says In Status HUD Outcome. We click Edit. And then this is where we're going to add our outcome or outcomes for the client. So any particular outcome that pertain to your particular client, you would select it. And then after they're all selected, you're going to click Save. And your outcomes would be saved to the system for your client. Now you have a billable case that you could send through the PHFA to be reimbursed for. Now, the benefit to importing the prospect lead case is everything that you did in the prospect lead case comes over to your billable case. So if you click on the financial tab, remember the budget we completed, it should be here. If we give our system a minute to work, it'll show up. There it is. Remember that document that we uploaded? Well, it should be here. So if we go to our document area and we find bank statements, here they are. We look at our history. There's our bank statement that we uploaded. The note that we entered, if we click on our notes section, any notes that you put into the system for your client would be there, and there's that test note that we entered. So everything that we did in the prospect lead case for our particular client has appeared in our live billable CHCI case. So that is the benefit of using the prospect lead case. All right, so let's look at the import one more time, but now instead of importing the prospect lead case to a CHCI case, I'm going to show you how we would import that case to a HUD case. So again, you're going to click on where it says import prospect case in the upper left-hand corner. You're going to search for the client that you want to import. Click on the case ID number. Indeed, verify that this is the client that we do want to import. We click on import prospect case. And here it brings us to step 1. So if we're doing a HUD case, again, we were going to use our HUD chart, Appendix C. If it's a pre-purchase case, our case type is going to be PHFA, pre-purchase one-on-one counseling. So we're going to select PHFA, pre-purchase one-on-one counseling. Click import. Step number 2, we're going to update our guarantor. So remember, you scroll down to the middle of the screen under counseling, find edit, and this is where you would update your guarantor. So for HUD, you're going to find NOFA. We're currently in NOFA 22, so we're going to select the NOFA 22. Click Save. And step number 2 is complete. Step number 3, we need to update our case status. So you're going to scroll down here to the bottom of the screen, right-hand side, where it says Update Case Status. Again, refer to your chart. And for purposes of this example, we're just going to do pre-purchase one-on-one counseling. So you're going to select pre-purchase one-on-one counseling. Click Save. And step 3 is complete. Okay, now you have a HUD case with a new case ID number that's tied to this client, Mr. October. You would then go in, enter your appointment in the user time log, put in your HUD outcomes, and now you have a live billable HUD case for this client.
Reminder, you can view all cases that are attached to a client from the case information screen. You're going to first click on the client's name, and then once you click on the client's name, you're going to scroll down to the section that talks about related cases, and then you'll see all of the cases that are related to that particular client that have been entered into the RX office system.
Now, all of that information and the step-by-step instructions that I just reviewed with you can be found in section 3 of our manual. Okay, so all of that information can be found here in step 3 of the manual. Okay, there's one more item I want to show you in section 3 before we move on to section 4, and that is the copy convert feature. So there is a copy convert feature in the system that is available for you to use. The copy feature allows you to copy a case, and the convert feature allows you to convert a case. So when may you use this copy convert feature? Well, you could use the copy feature if you simply wanted to copy a case. So if you had a CHCI case in the system and you needed to set up a HUD case for the client, instead of doing the import as we went through, you could simply use the copy feature to copy the CHCI case to a HUD case. When might you use the convert feature? Well, if you set up a case and you've realized, man, I selected the wrong case status, or I selected the wrong case type, I didn't follow Justin's instructions, I didn't use my charts as I should, and I need to correct that. Well, you would use the convert cases function to convert the case. Okay, so to find this, you're going to click on the admin tab. You're going to click where it says convert copy cases, and this is where you'll be able to do your activity. So to convert a case, you'll click on convert. You'll enter in the case ID number of the case you want to convert. You'll click the correct case type or the correct case status. You'll click convert case, and your case will be corrected for you automatically. So that is the copy convert feature that is available to you here in section number 3. Section 4, building the final report. So in section 4, we're going to show you how to build your final reports and how to send in your billing to us at PHFA. Now there's a number of different reports that are available to you in the system. We want to draw your attention to our PHFA reports. We list them here on page number 59. You can see the list of our PHFA reports here. And then we have a chart to identify. We do have separate reports for default and delinquency, mediation, diversion, and workshops under CHCI. And you can see your CHCI report contains a bunch of different initiatives. There's also non-PHFA reports that are available to you here in the system. And here we have a chart that identifies the report name and gives a brief description of the other reports that are available to you here in the system. So you may want to use some of these as you see fit. This is listed on page 60. So from the live system, to get to your reports, you're going to click on the Report tab, and you're going to click on Executive Summary Reports. Okay? The PHFA reports, as I mentioned, are down here on the left under PHFA Reports. You have your DHCD reports that are in here as well, if you report to them. And then you have some additional reporting that you see here under detailed reports. Now, the main reports that I want to draw your attention to would be your CHCI report, your HUD report, and then your other CHCI reports that are in here. So if you were pulling in your CHCI report, you would click on the CHCI report. Reporting is always going to be due to us the 5th of the following month. So any clients you see in October, billing is going to be due November 5th. Any clients you see in November, billing is going to be due to us December 5th. Okay? So you would put in the full month of clients that you're looking to pull, and you would click Show Report. Now, for purposes of our training and our example today, I'm only going to put in 1 day because I'm in the master system and it would take forever for me to pull 1 month. So I'm just going to put in 1 day here again, but for you it will be the full month. You're going to click Show Report, and then all the clients for that particular month are going to show up on your report. Okay, now what you need to do here is you need to export this to an Excel spreadsheet. So you're going to click on the disk, click on Excel, and take a full look at your report. Here it is. Okay, so all the clients for the month should show up on your report. You should see all the information regarding all of your clients. And when you get this report, there's one column that you want to pay strict attention to. That's going to be the last column, known as the missing column. Okay, now you cannot submit any billing reports to us at PHFA if there are items in the missing column. This means that there are mandatory or required fields inside the system that you have missed. You need to go in the system, fix the items for your client, pull the report again, and make sure the missing column is clear. Once the missing column is clear, you can then send the report to us at PHFA. If you do have items that appear in your missing column, we have created a chart to help you with this. So if you go to your manual, it's Appendix E in the manual called the Field Location Guide. And here we show you exactly in the system where that missing field would be. So the required field would show up over here on the left, and on the right we show you exactly where it would be in the system where you would need to go in and update it. So again, you cannot send any billing reports into us at PHFA until the missing field is blank for all of the clients on your report. So you're going to pull all of your billing reports the same way. So reports, executive summary reports. Your HUD report will be pulled the same way. Your M&D, your D&D report, all of these reports here will be pulled the same way. You also have your HUD 9902 verification report. So before you submit your actual HUD 9902 to us, you can pull the HUD 9902 verification report to verify that all of your clients look accurate for that particular quarter. The HUD 9902 report can also be pulled directly from the RX Office system. So to pull your HUD 9902, you would click on Reports, followed by Special Reports. You would click on the summary key and click on the HUD 9902 report. You would then enter the quarter or the dates that you're looking to generate for your HUD 9902. Click Generate, and your HUD 9902 will be generated right here in the system for you. If you click on History, you'll always have a full history of all of the HUD 9902 reports that have been generated. Okay, I'll pull one of them up to show you. It's the standard HUD 9902 report that you're used to. So it would have your agency's information, right, and information regarding all of your clients for that quarter. Now, if you are using RX Office as your main case management system, then after you verify that the 9902 report is correct, you are able to submit the HUD 9902 report directly to the HCS system by clicking on this button here. Okay, so the system does have that ability. So you can pull the HUD 9902 and submit directly to HCS through RX Office. All right, let's go back to our reports. There's a few other reports I'd like to show you here. The next report is the Detailed Case Information Report. So a lot of you want to create custom reports, and that's what the detailed case information report can be used to do. You must use Firefox to export the report, but here you could enter in your criteria for your custom report. You can see there's over 50 report columns that you could select. And here's where you could really go in and create custom reports that you may want to use within the system. Again, that's called the detailed case information report. And the last report that I want to draw your attention to is going to be the counseling log activity report, this one here. Now for this report, I'm going to go back into our manual, and I want to pull the report up here on the screen. Now, the counseling log activity report. Now, for those of you who bill HUD, this report is mandatory or necessary. So for those of you who bill under HUD, you know there's two different case management activity reports that are needed on a monthly basis. You have your case management activity report that's tied to client activity, and then you have your case management activity report that is not tied to client activity. Okay, the one that's not tied to client activity is a manual report that must be completed every month. The one that is tied to client activity, well, you can use this counseling activity log as your report that needs to be submitted. In order for this to work appropriately, any case management that's tied to client activity must be entered into the ARCS office system. It must be entered into the user time log, and these are the fields right here that must be completed in the user time log. So if you do this correctly and you enter all of your case management that's tied to client activity in the ARCS office system, then you can pull this counseling log activity report on a monthly basis, and this will be your case management report that's tied to client activity that you could utilize for that report that is necessary for the month. Okay, so again, that's the counseling log activity report, this one here. Okay, so and that is section 4. So section 4, we showed you all of the reports that are available to you in the system. We showed you the PHFA reports, the non-PHFA reports. We showed you how you could create a custom report. We also walked through the 9902 report with you. So those are the reports that are available to you here in the system. And all of that here is discussed in section 4. Section 5, closing a case and submitting the HUD 9902. So, HUD is big on making sure that you have accurate case management. So your follow-up is very important. So you should have detailed notes in the system of what's happening next with that client. And when you're done working with that client, it's very important that you close the case out in the system. So if you're absolutely done working with that client or case and you're sure that you're not going to be seeing them again, you want to close that case out. The way you do that is when you're in the ARCS office system, you'll see a tab or an area that says close case. This is what you will want to click on. You'll then go in and enter your final outcomes, your final outcome date, any final remarks, click save. And as easy and as simple as that, the case will be closed in the system for you. Now, if you have closed the case by mistake and you realize, man, I need to really reopen this case and work it some more, there is a reopen option. So right here in the case status section, you'll see a box with a green check mark next to it. If you want to reopen the case, you'll click on that box with the green check. There'll be a message that says, are you sure you want to reopen this case? You'll click OK. And that is how you could reopen a case that you may have mistakenly closed. Okay? But again, you do want to close a case when you're sure you're not going to be working with that client any longer. Now, submitting the HUD 9902, I kind of walked through that process with you already. What I do want to draw your attention to is I showed you how to pull the report. If you're the person that's going to be doing this, you do want to make sure that the fields are correct in the system under the system admin. So the system admin must first make sure the following fields are present in the agency information screen found on the admin tab. So your user code, your agency type, your HUD branch ID, your agency's HUD ID, and your contact information. Okay? You would then follow the steps that I previously reviewed with you on pulling the HUD 9902 and submitting it directly to the HCS system. So that is section 5, closing a case and submitting the HUD 9902. All right, why don't we take our last break of the day here before we get into section 6, which is our last section, group education. See you back here shortly. All right, section 6, group education. In this section, we're going to show you how to set up workshops in the ARCS office system. Okay, I'm going to go back to our live system. And workshops would be set up via the Educational System tab. So we're going to click on Educational System. And we're going to click where it says Create Class. This is where you will go in and set up the workshop for your agency. Class category is your first area. So you have the option of child, individual, and parent. Now, majority of the time, you're going to choose the individual class. Okay? The only time where you may choose the parent-child class is if you're doing a workshop that's longer. So let's say you're doing our financial education and coaching initiative workshop. That's a 6-hour workshop. And let's say you want to split that up into 3 2-hour sessions. Okay? If you did that, the parent class is going to be the financial education workshop. And then the child classes would be session 1, session 2, session 3 under that parent class. So if you're splitting a class up, you would use the parent-child relationship. If you're doing all of the hours together, you're just going to choose individual class. The class ID you can make up. Class name must be particular, okay? So I'm going to go to our manual here. For the class name, if you're setting up a CHCI workshop, you must go to Appendix B on that chart that I showed you, and the class name must match exactly how it's written there. If you're setting up a HUD workshop, the class name must match one of these below, depending on the workshop that you're doing. So the class name is important. So I'm going to do fair housing, fair lending. Okay? Your HUD category selection is also important. We have created a chart in the manual to help you with this. So on page number 83. So if you're setting up a CHCI workshop, we have all the CHCI workshops over here on the left. And then your HUD category selection in the middle and how it's going to report to the HUD 9902 on the right. So if you're doing a fair housing, fair lending workshop, which is the example I'm setting up, the HUD category selection is going to be completed fair housing workshop, and then it's going to report, this is how it's going to report on your HUD 9902 in section 8. So I'm going to select completed fair housing workshop. If it's not a CHCI workshop, I'm just going to select the one that makes the most sense for the workshop that I am completing. Your class max capacity, you're going to enter. Your class date, you're going to enter. Your class hours, the instructor's name, your start time and your end time, the location of your workshop, the education mode, and if you had a lender present, you're going to choose your lender from the drop-down list. Once you have all of that information in, you're going to click Save, and your workshop will be set up in the system. You can then click on the workshop to continue to work it. So the first thing you're going to want to do once you're in the workshop is you want to add your participants of the workshop. So, okay, there we go. So you can add your participants in one of two ways. Okay? If this is a brand new client, you know, that is not in your system, you would click on where it says Add Client, and you would go in and add them to the workshop that way. If the client, however, has already been entered into your system and you want to add them to the workshop, then you're going to click on the client list. Now you have the opportunity to search for that client in your system, and you can add them to the workshop that way. To search for a client to add them to the workshop, you would enter in your search criteria, click search. All right, here we go. So now we have Mr. October that is added to our workshop.
It's very important for your workshops that as you're entering them into the system, you're selecting a guarantor for all clients that are going to be in that workshop. As you see here on the screen for HUD workshops, in order for your clients to show up in Section 8 of the HUD 9902 under the HUD activities column, you must add the NOFA comp guarantor for each client that is registered for that individual workshop. Okay? If it's not a HUD workshop, you still need to put in a guarantor, whatever one's going to make sense for the type of workshop that you're doing. But that workshop, if it's not a HUD workshop, those clients will be counted in the All Others Activities section, or the All Counseling and Education Activities section of the HUD 9902. Okay? So if it's a HUD workshop, you're going to choose the appropriate NOFA comp guarantor. Non-HUD workshop, you still need to enter a guarantor, but it's going to show up in the All Counseling and Education Activities column. And this must be done for all clients that are attending the workshop that you're entering into the system.
Okay, once you have all of your clients in here, once they've attended, you'll go through and click on the ones that have attended, the box next to their name, click attended. Their name would change to green, and the people that did not attend would stay in red. When you're ready to print certificates, you would click to the box next to their name, click on where it says print certificate, and now you have a pre-filled certificate for all of your workshop participants as well that you can use. Okay? You can even print out a class roster or export your roster. So if you wanted to export your roster and use it kind of as a sign-in sheet, you would click on Export, Excel, and now you would have a sign-in sheet with all of your participants' information. And I think we even added a signature line for you at the end. Okay? So you can export your roster here as well onto an Excel spreadsheet. So a lot of different things you can do once you're in the workshop to actually work the workshop. If you want to upload documents that were used in your workshop to the workshop, so over here you can see there's an upload area where you can upload any advertisements or flyers that you used, or anything that you want to upload for the workshop can be uploaded using this button here. Now, once your workshop is complete, you have all of your clients in, you've given them their certificates, and you're ready to bill for the workshop. Before you bill, you must close the workshop. So you're going to click on this X. You go in and put the close date, click Save, close the workshop, and then you will go into your reports, Executive Summary Report, and you will pull your workshop report, this one here, for the month, and send that over to PHFA. Okay? And that's how you would complete your workshops. It's a pretty basic process there. Again, we have the step-by-step instructions here in the manual on everything that I just reviewed with you in Section 6. It's all there for you, okay? Okay, Section 7, things to remember. So, as I mentioned early, every case will be assigned with a case ID number or case number that's automatically generated from the system. If your agency has a special number that you'd like to assign to a case, you can use the internal reference number. Make sure you create the prospect lead case first before assigning a guarantor to a client. If you're using the credit report to pre-populate your budget, you have to pull your credit report first, then go in and complete your budget. A workshop must be closed in order for it to show up on your final PHFA workshop report. Entering in a prospect lead case does count as case management activity, but don't put that case management activity in the prospect lead case. You want to put it in the actual case once that case is imported. And your outcomes are going to be time-stamped in real time, so you want to make sure that you are entering in the outcomes into the system as they occur. Okay? And then I did go through a few documents and different things that we have here in the appendix for you. So to recap what we've covered today. Section 1, we introduced the system to you and we went through initial client intake. I showed you how to set up the prospect lead case and we looked at the 5 things that you can do for a client in the prospect lead case status. Those 5 things were entering in loan information, creating the budget, creating your action plan, uploading documents, and creating notes. Section 2, we showed you how to search for cases. There's a quick search way and then there's a more extensive search way in the system. Section 3, we showed you how to assign a guarantor for billing and create your final case type. Section 4, we showed you all the reporting features that are available to you in the system. Section 5, we showed you how to close the case and submit the HUD 9902. Section 6, we showed you how to set up a workshop here in using the ARCS office system. And then Section 7, we went over some important things to remember. We do have this ARCS office manual that is a great resource for you. It can be found on Counselor's Corner, so you want to make sure you are utilizing that. We also have some videos on our YouTube page, our Counseling Division YouTube page, which walks you through how to do some more complicated things in the system. So you want to refer to that as well. Hopefully this presentation was helpful for you. If you do have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to us directly in the Counseling Division. Again, thank you all for your time and attention today. Thank you very much.